to stick with the idea of deadlines here for a second, because everybody's focused on the March 1st deadline, which is this coming Friday for 4 appropriations bills. Then Bill mentioned the March 8th deadline for the remaining 8. A potential another CR. I've lost count of how many. Would this be the 5th? I think.
Fourth. I think this would be the well.
Okay, to March 22nd. But I keep reading in the dailies on Capitol Hill that the real deadline is April 30th. And Bill, I was wondering if you talk about why people are so focused on April 30th.
Yeah, I think this is an important point and I quite frankly, I agree with you, Tori. I think the real deadline is the end of April, because of the Fiscal Responsibility Act that we agreed to last June, sets up a procedure whereby if we could have across the board reductions that would become 30, it would kick into place after, I think it's 30 days after that deadline. And that is a 1% cut. But the problem is, of course, the 1% cut from a continuing resolution level with only 5 months could be crammed up, could be a lot larger for some programs. The 1% was over an annual basis. So there is a discussion. Some of the conservatives would argue, well, why don't we just do the continuing resolution, kick in the 1% cut at the end of April, and look at all the savings we're going to get. Most of those savings, by the way, would occur in the non-defense discretionary area relative to a continuing resolution. At the same time, I've been told that the defense people are very adamant about not having a continuing resolution. And so I don't know, Corey. I'm of the mindset that you're right, that the real deadline here is April, the end of April.
So I'm curious. There's they talk about April 30th triggering this sequester that could happen 30 days later if we can't get full year appropriations bills passed. But you can also make the argument that a continuing resolution that funds the government for the rest of the fiscal year is in of itself an appropriations bill, and hence the president's Office of Management and Budget would have the legal authority to say that's an appropriations bill, so there is no sequester. So these Republicans that are holding out, the conservatives, this faction of conservative House Republicans who are holding out, thinking they can run out the clock and sort of force a sequester that would hit hard non-defense discretionary spending. Are they on a fool's errand here?
I like your thinking because at the end of the day, it is OMB that will make the determination as to whether or not that 1% cut goes into effect or not. Now, I don't know what happens if they say it doesn't go into effect. We have a continuing resolution, and therefore there's no cuts across the board. It's just at the funding at last year's level. I don't know if somebody can challenge that and who challenges it under a court. And even by the time they got through the courts, the fiscal year will be over with and we'll be into another one. So I'm with you on this one. I think it's a kind of a fool's errand on those people who think they can hold out until the end of April and somehow they're going to get these great cuts. I don't, on the non-defense side, I don't think it makes any sense, because I truly believe in an election year. Politics will play here, and OMB will be able to find enough flexibility in that law to say that there are no 1% cuts.
I agree.